Hello friends, let me first start by showing you the camera that I use the very most. It's this, my smartphone. I didn't say it's my favorite camera, I just said it's the one that I almost always have on me. So in that way, I end up using it more than just about any other camera, probably just like you. But no matter how good the technology gets, it will never be this. And this in this particular case is the brand new FUJIFILM X-T30 III. And other than the fact that I owe them a review and that's why I have this camera here, this camera also represents probably one of the best tools you can use if you're interested in moving on from phonography. In today's video, I'm going to run you through what makes this third edition of the X-T30 an excellent choice. Not just as a first camera, but as one that won't feel out of date in a couple of years. Of course, I'm also going to walk you through who this camera is and isn't for, and some challenges users may find with it. It used to be that entry-level cameras were plasticky, small, and yet weirdly bulky at the same time, and then they'd be equipped with a kit lens that was kind of like looking through a plastic pop bottle. Now, of course, industry-wide, this is absolutely changing, but few are bringing real value to this category in the way that Fujifilm is. I mean, just look at this thing. Magnesium alloy body, compact, and wonderfully tactile. Inside is just as impressive. This camera is updated with the newest X processor 5, which doubles the performance and improves the battery life, all while giving users 6.2K video and beautiful 26 megapixel photos. The very same specs that you're gonna find on a camera 3 times this price. And just as important, this is a beautiful looking camera, one that you won't be embarrassed to have around your shoulder. Before I get accused of being sycophantic in any way, I just want you to know that there are some reasons to pass on this camera, and we're going to get to that in just a bit. But to know that I spent 1 week with this camera, and my goal was to use it in sort of 2 major ways. One was to just take it with me while I did social things, like hanging out with a friend, going for a walk, etc. You know, just sort of day-to-day stuff. Just to see if the camera felt good to take with me and to use casually, almost like a cell phone. The other was sort of to just put it to the test to see if it could keep pace with my Pro Body XH2S. I brought it on a job and just slotted it in from time to time. I moved the Pro Photo remote over and it worked identically to my Pro Body. Now, of course, it's smaller and a little harder to hold onto because it doesn't have this big grip, but functionally speaking, the images are frankly identical. It's important to say this, my XH2S has an X-Trans 5 stack sensor, whereas the X-T30 III has the X-Trans 4 non-stack sensor. So the readout times on my camera is going to be a lot faster than on the X-T30, and that's going to limit what you can kind of do with the X-T30 III. You can see this play out in the rolling shutter test against my XH2S. Here, the X-T30 III lags behind. But context is important because the rolling shutter of the XH2S is 9.7 milliseconds, which is exceptionally fast. My message here is this: it is unlikely that you will ever notice these limits for a very long time. And in fact, I think most users will never outgrow the X-T30 III. In fact, what I love about this camera is the same thing that I love about my Fujifilm X-Half camera, which is in my day-to-day life, especially in my professional work, I am making exposure decisions all the time. And it's nice when I use my cell phone, for example, that I just go, oh, that's a cool shot, and I just go and take the photo without having to consider exposure decisions. So what I love about my X-Half is I just leave it on all auto, and I really just get to enjoy going out and taking pictures in a way that I can do with my cell phone, but I actually get a better experience and I get better images. And so now I want to show you all the ways I think the X-T30 III is just a real joy to use. For one, the camera has an all-auto switch. So going from making exposure decisions to not having to make any is done simply with a quick flip of the thumb. Changing film simulations is all on a tactile dial, which I prefer to really any other way of cycling through them, helping you find the right mood or vibe for the photo. And while we're on the subject of film simulations, there are 3 banks in which you can save custom recipes like the ones from the Fuji X Weekly app, or, invent your own. And by the way, I always like to mention while on this topic that we have one of the most viewed and expansive tutorials on the subject of film simulations if you're new to Fujifilm, including a complete walkthrough of the Fuji X Weekly app. And here are a few other reasons to choose this camera over a smartphone. First up is body design. Having an electronic viewfinder is absolutely critical for improving the photography experience. On bright sunny days, it can be nearly impossible to see the LCD screen. In this way, an EVF becomes critical. I also love EVFs just for shutting out the world and distractions and allowing me to focus on my framing. It's also way easier to be reactive to your surroundings. I find shooting with my phone takes more than twice as long to get a shot over just using a camera. even including the time it takes to just turn both cameras on. Having a proper shutter button also makes a huge difference. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to take a photo in a rush with my phone, and instead of hitting the proper side shutter button, I just end up turning the display off. The second reason is just simple physics. Light is light, so a larger capturing system, a larger lens, a larger sensor will always outperform smaller lenses, smaller sensors. And so the components are really what will always hold this back, and this will be better in just about every way except the ability to fit into a pocket. And don't get me wrong, like I said, I actually really love smartphone photography, but the challenge is that it will never really compete, in my mind, to the experience, not just image quality, but also the experience of using something like this. Okay, so let's briefly discuss some of the concerns that I have with this camera. The first is going to be how this LCD screen articulates. If you have any aspirations about being in front of this camera, then sadly that's kind of a no-go with this guy. If vlogging is going to take up a huge portion of what you want to do with the camera, then you're better off with a very similarly powered XM5. But you will have to give up on that EVF, which is so critical if you want to shoot photos. The only workaround on the X-T30 III is to monitor on your cell phone, which is going to kill your cell phone battery, or a small 5-inch HDMI monitor, which kills your portability. From a photography perspective, I wish that the LCD also had a vertical flip, because it's difficult to see what you're shooting with low or high shots. My only guess as to why it's excluded is simply to either keep the size or the cost down, or both. Some might hesitate with this camera because of the lack of a stabilized sensor. I personally don't think it's that big of an issue, but people tend to comment on that, so I think we should address that right now. I'm going to contradict myself here just a little bit in saying that personally, I don't love a digitally stabilized image. So for me, having an optically stabilized lens becomes very important with this camera. With digital stability, no matter the setting, it's always a bit herky-jerky to me, and also crops the image in. Lacking a stabilized sensor also means that in photography, you're going to be limited by how slow your shutter speed can be when you're hand-holding the camera. For example, I can get a sharp image on my X-H2S at 1/8 of a second handheld, something I wasn't always able to achieve with the X-T30 III without using a stabilized lens. Again, I hesitate to bring this up because I think for the people who this camera is made for, they're just simply not going to really notice this. This is just me coming from a continual use of a pro body. But that also does make the case to buy this kit lens that comes with the camera, which is a brand new 13-33 XF optically stabilized lens. I use it almost exclusively while using this camera, and the optics are truly outstanding, especially for a kit lens. It makes for a wonderful package to travel with, and if compactness is truly important, you can even throw on a pancake lens. In summary, if you are looking for a camera that is both powerful and compact, great for things like travel or day-to-day use, then certainly the X-T30 III is one of the very, very best candidates out there. It is fantastic for anybody who's looking to move from sort of cell phone photography or looking for their very first body. And it's something that I know for a fact is going to have incredible longevity. You're not going to outgrow it anytime soon, I guarantee you. And it also brings the users some additional value as well with this little pop-up flash, which was on the other models as well. That's going to allow you to kind of take photography anywhere or any place that you find yourself. And that is it. Thank you so much for watching. As always, please subscribe to this channel for more great videos like this and comment in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say, what you think. For me, for now, I'm out. Peace.